Hello everybody, welcome to this wonderful reading. I'm Zoe Alex, welcome. In this wonderful way I'm going to promote is that this is going to be for the day of the week of April the 14th to April the 19th of 2025. This reading is going to provide what's going on in this whole entire situation, whether, we have our own ways of our own circumstances of what's going on in this whole entire situation. Further to about the in more questions is that this is the way it kind of is in one way or another, and it's the way it kind of in terms of the situation, whether you like it, whether you go ahead, whether you understand if you're going to have a good fantastic week, but the way of how this is, whether it's going to be very interesting, we have to understand what's happening, and you think that okay, this is the way it needs to be in that way. Because you need to understand. So you have to believe that everything seems to be fine, but then does it give you that way of saying, alright, this is how it's going to be of knowing what to do, right? This is the way of how I can, have my own way in saying, alright, this is the way it needs to be. I know what to do, but this is the way it seems to be. So the way of how this is, the way of how things are in that way, you think that okay, everything's fine and dandy, what have you, but then we have to understand about how we can engage of how everything is, right? This is the way it seems to be, right? So whether you're going to have a good week or a bad week, it all depends on how I'm going to clarify, and this is the way it seems to be. So it's like this is the way it goes, right? So this is the way it seems to be, and you need to pay attention to what's going on in that situations, and that's the way it goes, right? That's how it seems to be. So let's see what's going on with this oracle card that I'm going to tell you about is love. I commit to the practice of seeing the good in all things. That's the way it goes, where you love somebody, whether if you're in a long-term relationship, short-term relationship, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that when you have love during this week, you have to pay attention to what's going on in this way, right? Because love is all factors, whether you have family, or whether you have loved ones, or whether you have grandparents, or whatever it is. You have love and respect about what's going on in that way, because when you have love, you pay attention to what's going on in that way. You know what to do, you know what the process is, right? That's what it seems to be. And when you pay attention, you have to know from your strengths, your weaknesses, and everything else. But when you have love, everything changes by bit by bit, day by day, week by week, month by month, and year by year. Everything changes. So when you have love, everything is dependent on how everything is between the whole entire universe and between you as well. But that's what it seems to be in that way. So that's how it is. So I'm going to clarify what's happening. Basically, I want to look at what's going on between from the left side, the right side, and we're going to do about the middle of how it is. This is the way it kind of is in that moment. So this is the way it kind of is. That's the way it seems to be, and this is how it's going to be. So this is going to be a different day of the week, but it's going to be a process of how it's going to be in that way. So here we go. So in this circumstance is where you have basically the Knight of Pentacles does represent trust. When you have trust, you have the ability where you have going to be trust. When you have your own authentic feelings, that's the way it goes. So when you have trust, you know what to do. You're going to trust your partner. You know what's going on, and that's how it's going to be. So when you do that, that's the way it goes. So you could be doing that in a Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus as earth signs, as zodiac signs. Pay attention to that. And on the right side, you have Leo as a fire sign, as the Sun card is positivity. So you have that ability from the right and wrong perspective, but that's how it is. When you have positivity, you're going to have positivity during this week, because that's the way it goes. And when you are in positive, things will go as long as it needs to, and you think, alright, I know what to do, I got this, but that's how it's going to be in that way. So that's the way kind of in tunes of that situation, and that's how it kind of is. So when things to be in that way, you have to think, okay, this is how it is. This is how it's going to be, and this is the way it seems to be, right? So when you do exactly what you're going to be doing, when you're being responsibility, when you do that, that's the way it goes in that way, and you think that everything seems to be fine. So I'm going to clarify what's happening on the left side, please. The Empress is upright, followed by the Six of Wands reversed, followed by the Death card is upright. So you're going to have endings, and when you have nourishment, that's the way it goes. You're not having any celebration, you're not going to celebrate. But the way of how this is, the way how this is going to be dialogue, that's the way it goes. We could be dealing with another Scorpio as a water sign, so that's another zodiac sign. Pay attention to that as well. But that's how it seems to be in that way, because you need to understand about when you focus on that. Focus about when you have your own reality, your own self-respect, the ways how you can do what you can, that's the way it seems to be, right? That's how it is when you face your own abilities from the right and wrong perspective, whether you like it or not, whether you do what you're told to do, because you have to be responsible on how you're feeling, how you're going to do that. That's the way it goes. But there are things that you need to understand, whether you like them on the way, how it is, and that's how it is. You're going to follow up the situation, whether you do, but that's how it seems to be in that way. What's happening with the Sun card? Ace of Wands reversed, followed by the King of Swords reversed, followed by the Seven of Cups reversed. So there's no delusion, there's no knowledge, there's no new beginnings, nothing like that. Okay, what's the opposite with this? The Moon is upright, so there's misrotations. The Two Wands reversed, you're not planning on something. Page of Cups reversed, there's no loyalty. The Tower reversed, there's no transformation. Two Pentacles reversed, you're not balancing two things at once. But the King of Cups is upright because you want support. Yeah, because when it's very national, is where you have to do what you're told to do and be responsible about what's going on in that situation. Whether you plan on things, whether you like it or not, whether you do what you're told to do. That's how it is. Because when you have your own peace of mind, you do what you can because you focus on that. Focus about having your own reality. Focus about what's going on in that perspective, whether you do that or not. But it all depends on this whole entire situation, this whole entire week, because you do what you can. Because when you have love, you pay attention to it, right? That's how it's going to be in that way. So what's happening in the middle of the situation here? The Cups is upright. So it does represent where you're going to have entertainment, so you'll be focusing on a Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio as water signs. So you pay attention about what's going on in that way, because in reference, you pay attention to what's going on in that way, and you're thinking, oh well, I know what to do, I got this, but then that's the way it goes. So let me see what's going on for this situation. So I'm going to figure out what's going on between the Monday and Tuesday during this week. On the left side, please. Tower reversed, followed by the Temperance reversed, followed by the Lotus reversed, followed by the Justice reversed, followed by the Empress is upright. So you have nourishment, that's the way it goes. That's the way it seems to be. Opposite, the Devil reversed, followed by the Empress upright, followed by the Fool reversed, followed by the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So you're going to be having bad luck on the same time, but then you have a structure of that way. So you could be depending on what's going on in that way. It could be where Monday and Tuesday could be affecting, where you might have a good day, but then you're going to have bad luck, or that's the way it goes. You're trying to figure out that you don't want to have negativity, right? You want to try to have a positive week, but that's how it's going to be in that way. What's up with this Wheel of Fortune here? The High Priest is upright, yeah, because you want to use your inner voice, because that's the way it goes. So you're trying to figure out, well, how it's based on, how I can do it, how I can understand that. So this could be a Monday and Tuesday situation, whether you are going to have this whole entire fantastic week, whether you're going to focus about how it is in that way of how it is. This is not a periodic table. This is not the science of chemistry, whatever it is. This is the between of what's going on in that situation, whether you do like it or not, whether you pay attention about your own skills, your own reality, your own way of thinking about this whole entire week, because you have to focus on what's going on around this situation. that's the way it goes, right? So when you focus on that, you focus about what's going on in that way, whether you like it or not, whether you have your own way of saying, all right, well, I know what to do, I got this, but that's how it's going to be in that way. What's happening on basically, so this would be Wednesday in the middle, but let me focusing on the Thursday and Friday here. So the Justice is upright, followed with the Death card is upright, followed with the High Priestess reversed, followed with the Hangman is upright. So the Justice does represent where you're telling the truth. The death card represents there's endings are going to come up. The Hangman is upright, there's restrictions. That's the way it goes, where you're going to have restrictions between Thursday and Friday. It all depends about that situation. Even about the Saturday situation, so you pay attention to that. Because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday during this week, you pay attention to what's going on in that situation, whether you're going to have restrictions. You're going to have the ability from the way of how it is in that way, and you think, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I need to in tune of this situation. I got this. I know what to do. But then you have to understand that, okay, well, I need to focus on this. Focusing about what's going on in that situation, whether you like it or not, whether you have to embrace your glory, your own scientific way of knowing what to do in that way. You have your own standards. You have your own ways of knowing what to do. That's what it seems to be between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you pay attention to that during on the right side. Now in the middle, you have the Eight Cups that represents Wednesday. Let me see. The Sun card is upright, so there's positivity. The Hierophant reverse, there's no guidance. The Devil reverse, there's no obsession. The Empress is upright because you want nourishment. The Fortune is upright because you're gonna have good luck on your side. Yeah, because the way of how this is on a Wednesday, because you have positivity, you're going to stay positive. You're going to have good luck on your side. You're going to have nourishment as the Empress, right? Because you pay attention on this. So this is the way of how you can understand about having jolted ways and thinking, well, this is the way how I can promote this. This is the way of how I can understand it. This is the way of how it is. Because you have to think about, well, am I going to pay attention? Yes. But you have your own ways of knowing what to do. You have your own circumstances about when you pay attention, whether you're going to have a good day on that day, whatever it is. But you pay attention on what's happening in that situation, whether you are in tune, whether you enjoy it, whether you have your own circumstances, the way of how it is, right? So you pay attention on how it is in that way, whether you like it or not, whether you understand about how you're going to interpret it or do what you're told to do. That's the way it goes, because you do what you can, because you have to focus on how it is in one way or another, and you say, all right, well, I got this, I know what to do. But then you have all these things going on, right? That's the way it goes. So you need to focus on abilities from how you're feeling and how you're going to be staying positive between different days, whether you are feeling happy or sad or angry or whatever it is. You have to pay attention to what's going on in this situation, because this is the way it goes, right? This is the way of how it seems to be. And this is what I'm interpreted about what's going on. That's the way it goes, right? So you pay attention to what's going on in that situation, because that's how it is. So let's go from the Wednesday backwards to Tuesday and Monday. So this is how it is. So Justice upright, followed by the Emperor reverse, followed by the Tower reverse, followed by the Two of Pentacles reverse, followed by the Five of Wands reverse, followed by the Lovers reverse, followed by the King of Cups reverse, followed by the Two of Wands reverse, followed by the King of Pentacles is upright. So you could be focusing on money, basically how it is, abundance and everything else on between the Wednesday all the way to Tuesday and Monday, because you're focusing on how it is in that way. You're focusing on what's going on that way. You're focusing about what's happening in that way, and you think, okay, all right, well, this is the way it seems to be. This is the way of how I can understand that, right? That's how it is, because this is how it seems to be. This is not a political problem or platform, whatever it is, but this is the way how you can focus what's going on in that situation. and that's how it is, right? What is happening between the Justice and so for the Wednesday all the way to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, on the right side, please. The Pentacles reversed, followed by the High Priestess upright, followed by the Queen of Cups reversed, followed by the World reversed, followed by the Judgment reversed, followed by the Ten of Cups is upright. So it does represent where you're going to have a delusion, the way of how it goes. You're going to have incompletion, but the High Priestess is upright where you're going to use your inner voice. That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it seems to be. What's happening with this Eight of Pentacles here? Devil reversed, followed by the Strength card is upright. Yeah, you're going to have strength, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. Because you're focusing about what's going on in this situation. You're thinking, well, this is how it's going to be. I need to understand this. I need to how it is. I'm not going to let it go. I'm not going to pay attention, but you need to pay attention during this week. Because the way of how this is, the way how you're going to love your partner, or when you're going to have your own, how it is, you have to pay attention on whether you like it during this week, right? That's the way it needs to be, right? That's how it is. So when you're focusing on what's going on in that situation, and you do what you're told to do. Be responsible in how you're feeling, the way how you're acting, the way how you are having your own feelings. That's the way it seems to be. So you have to pay attention to what's going on, because that's how it is. So let me try to figure out what's going on. There's gonna be lots of clarification. So I'm gonna clarify between the Wednesday, right backwards between the Tuesday and Monday, and then we'll go from the Wednesday to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on the right side. So let's see what's happening. Knight of Cups is upright, followed by the Eight of Pentacles is upright, followed by the Four of Swords reversed, followed by the Devil is upright, followed by the Star reversed, followed by the Four of Cups is upright. So it does represent that you're going to be focusing on your distraction, because you're going to have maybe violence, maybe you're going to be obsessing about something. That's the way it goes. The Eight of Pentacles does represent more of your career, because that's the way it goes. You're focusing on love, because that's the way how it is in romance of that situation. That's the way it kind of is in that moment, because you think, oh, well, this is the way it goes. I need to focus on what's happening, because that's how it seems to be in that way. So you're focusing between a Wednesday all the way to Tuesday and Monday in that situation, right? That's the way it goes. So you could be focusing on Capricorn as a earth sign, as zodiac sign. You're focusing on Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio as another zodiac signs, as water signs as well. You pay attention to that as well. What's happening between the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, during this week on the right side? Two of Swords is upright, followed by the Knight of Swords is upright, followed by Three of Wands reversed, followed by the Emperor reversed, followed by the Eight of Swords is upright. So it does represent where you don't know which direction you're going to take, left or right, but it all depends on how you're going to be have this adventure about what's going on in this way, and you're focusing what's going on now in that how you can make your own decisions, right? That's the way it goes. So when you have drama, when you have anxiety, when you're not communicating very well, because that's the way it goes between a Thursday and Friday and Saturday, during that way of how it is, right? So this is the way it seems to be in that way, and you think that, well, I know what to do, I got this, but then that's the way it seems to be. So you could be focusing on a Gemini, Libra, Aquarius as another air signs, as zodiac signs. You pay attention to that as well, because that's the way it goes in that way. So you have to focus on that. You have to focus on your mind. You focus on how you can understand that. Collaborate, do what you want, but that's how it seems to be in that way, right? So when you're focusing about having drama, whatever it is, you pay attention about what's going to be helping you. You're focusing on what you want, what you need, because you need that ability from the right and the wrong perspective. But then you need to focus about what's happening between this situation, right? That's the way it goes. So you need to understand about how it is. Now, I'm going to clarify this Two of Swords here. Let's see. So let me figure out who's on the left side. the Five of Pentacles reversed, followed by the Six of Swords is upright. So you're gonna have movement. Okay, what's happening on the right side? The Ten of Wands is upright, so you're gonna have burdens. Yeah, that's the way it goes, because you're focusing on how you can do it in one way or another, and you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I need to understand that. I need to go ahead. I need to do what I want. That's the way it goes, because you're focusing. You're focusing about what's going on in that situation, whether you like it or not, but then you do what you can because you focus on that, right? So you have to focus about what you want, what you need, what you want. That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it seems to be. So you do what you can. So what's happening between Monday and Tuesday? What's happening between Wednesday? What's happening Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? Let's see. So what's happening Monday and Tuesday? Five of Earth, it says, fear surrounding money, the wisdom to accept help from others, uncertain self-employment. Yeah, so you could be having where, you have people that are going to help you with money management, how you're going to be focusing on how it's going to be in that way, because you're going to be having support. You're going to do what you're told to do, but then you have to understand what you're focusing on, about your finances, the way how it is, the way how you're going to do that, the way how you're going to get your wealth back, whatever it is. But you need to understand that. So you could be focusing on the Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus as earth signs, as zodiac signs. Okay, so you pay attention to that. What's happening on Wednesday? The Queen of Air is independent, experienced, realistic, witty, objective decision making, clearing away all that no longer serves you, seeing the humor in the situation. Yeah, so that's where it goes, where you could be laughing about something, you're going to have a sense of humor, because you're going to be, well educated about it. Basically, you're going to make something up, like a story or whatever, or you're going to make your other partner laugh or whatever it is, because you're focusing about that. You're focusing about having your own humor of that way, right? That's the way it goes. So you'll be focusing on a Gemini, Libra, Aquarius on a Wednesday as zodiac signs, and that's the way it goes, right? And what's happening on the right side between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the Page of Fire. Outgoing, creative, confident, mischievous. News of an exciting new endeavor. Use your originality and intriguity. Yeah, because that's the way it goes. You're going to be doing what you can. You could be maybe going to be having your own outgoing situation, or you're going to be focusing about what you decide to do. So you're focusing on how you're going to interpret of how it seems to be in that way, and you do what you're told to do. You be responsible what's going on in that way, because that's how it is, right? So when you do that, you need to understand, and you have to focus on that. Focus about your own reality. Focus about what you need, what you want, right? That's the way it goes. So you could be doing it another Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius as another fire signs, as zodiac signs. Pay attention to that. Alright, so let's see what the universe is saying here. Let's see. So I'm going to go to do one card on a Monday, one card on Wednesday, one card on Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the right side. So the Tower reverse, there's no transformation. What's happening on Wednesday? Three of Pentacles reverse, no excitement. Alright, what's on the right side for Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Six of Swords is upright, so there's going to be movement. Alright, so what's happening on Monday and Tuesday for the Tower moment? The Five of Cups reverse, there's no grief. The Queen of Wands reverse, there's no charisma. Ace of Wands is up. Ace of Swords is upright. There's an understanding here. Yeah, so there's going to be an understanding. We're going to be focusing on that on a Monday and Tuesday, because you're focusing on what's going to be in that way, because that's how it is, right? So when you focus on that ability, you pay attention to what's going on that way. You're going to be focusing about your respect, your way of how you're feeling, the way how you're going to get what you want, whatever it is. But then you're focusing about having your own understanding about what's going on in that way, because you're focusing on that. So that's why it seems to be that you're going to have a good understanding on a Monday and Tuesday, right? So you're focusing on a Gemini, Libra, Aquarius as zodiac signs, as air signs. You pay attention to that. What's happening on Wednesday for this 3 Pentacles? 3 Wands reversed, so there's no communication. Wow. 10 of Pentacles here is there's no wealth. 10 of Cups reversed, there's no completion. The 5 of Swords reversed, there's no revenge. The Hierophant reversed, there's no guidance. 10 Pentacles reversed, there's no vision. Queen of Cups reversed, there's no empathy. King of Cups reversed, there's support. Yeah, you're gonna have support on a Wednesday. I don't know why you have no communication or no wealth, but you pay attention to what you're gonna be having on a situation on a Wednesday. Because when you have support, you're gonna have support because you're going to do that. Because you could be focusing about when you're having your own finances or whatever it is, you're focusing on what you're going to be doing during that week, during that Wednesday, during the way of how it is, because you're going to do what you can because you're focusing on that. You know, that's the way it seems to be in that way, because that's the way it goes. Alright? So you could be focusing on a Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer as zodiac signs, as water signs. Alright? What's happening on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on a 6 of Swords? Let's see what's going on here. Knight of Pentacles here is there's no trust. 5 of Pentacles is upright, so you're gonna feel insecurity. I don't know why you're feeling like the Knight of Pentacles here is there's no trust. So there's 8 of Swords here is there's no anxiety. But Queen of Pentacles is upright, there's stability. So when you have stability and feeling insecurity, because about what's going on between the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you pay attention to what you're going to get. But then when you're focusing about when you're having no trust or when you're going to be doing that, it's like there was something that was happening in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is going to be a way of how it is, the way of how it looks, the way how, decency it is, right? So when you focus about that, you focus about what you're going to do in that way. That's the way it seems to be, right? So that's how it is. So you have to understand that the way how this is, the way how this is going to be in a fine lining, you pay attention to what's going on through this whole entire week. You pay attention to what's going on, because when you focus, you have to focus about what's right, what's wrong. That's the way it goes, right? So when you're going to have a fantastic week, you pay attention to what's going on, but that's how it is, right? That's what the universe is saying. So you pay attention to what's going on, but that's how it is. So I hope you all like this video. Please give it a like, please give it a comment, and enjoy. And this is the way it seems to be, and I hope you like it, understand about this, but this is the way it seems to be. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day to all, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye for now, really. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.